7 o'clock.
That's
Yeah, it's a bummer.
I'd like to call to order the zoning board meeting for the city of Fraser for November 6th at 7 o'clock. Would you please join me for a pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm going to ask everybody if they will silence their phones.
It's on silent.
Mr. Clerk, give us a roll call, please.
Certainly, after I silence my phone.
Maybe shut your alarms off, because that's what it was.
Yeah, that's what it was, too. Member Burley.
Present.
Chimenti. Farina.
Here.
Green.
Present.
Menendez.
Present.
Stasic.
Here.
Wall.
Present.
That is a quorum, sir.
Thank you. The agenda, I would like to make a change to the agenda. I would like item 10 moved up below item 7, and that's the report. So we can have fresh news there, and we can hear that. Is there any problem with doing that? Any problem?
So switching 7 and 10, correct?
No, switching
Just moving.
10 in front of, behind 7,
Okay.
10 becomes the new 8.
right? Or 7A, if you will. Any problem with that? Can I have a motion to,
I'll second.
no, I need a motion.
I thought you made the motion.
No,
Yep, you made the motion.
no,
Need a second.
I'm just recommending it. All right, I'll make a motion to accept the agenda as amended. And
I'll
I'll have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Before I do the formal statement, I want to formally welcome Joe Chimenti back.
Thank you very much,
Joe is fighting his way back after a little health problem, and good to have him back.
Thank
So,
you very much.
all right. Formal statement.
Approve the minutes.
Yeah, minutes is next.
Skipped it. All
Not
right.
yet.
The approval of the minutes from October the 2nd. Is there any corrections that we need for October the 2nd?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the October 2nd, 2025.
Second. Okay, you got that?
Yep.
Who was second?
Mr. Wall.
All those in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. Formal statement. Parishioners. Petitioners and members of the audience, the Zoning Board of Appeals, as herein created, is a body of limited powers where there are practical difficulties or unnecessary hardships in the way of carrying out the strict letter of the Fraser Code. The board shall have the powers in passing upon appeals to vary or modify any of the provisions of the code relating to the construction, structural changes in equipment, or alteration of buildings or structures so that the spirit of the code shall be observed, public safety secured, and substantial justice done. No variance in the provisions or requirements of the code shall be authorized by the board unless the board finds evidence that all of the following facts and conditions exist. A, that there is an exceptional or extraordinary circumstances or conditions applying to the property in the question, in the intended use of the property that do not apply generally to other properties in the same zoning district. B, that such a variance is necessary for the preservation and enjoyment of a substantial property right similar to that possessed by other properties in the same district and the same vicinity. The possibility of increased financial return shall not of itself be deemed sufficient to warrant a variance. C, that authorizing such a variance will not be of substantial detriment to adjacent property and will not materially impair the intent and the purpose of the Fraser Code or the public interest. D, the condition of the or situation of the specific piece of property or the intended use in the property for which the variance is sought is not so general or recurrent in nature as to make a reasonable, practicable, and formulation of a general regulation for such condition of the situation. Having heard that, I want to go through in item number 7A. Lauren, you want to take us through that report?
Sure. So, sorry, let me just flip there. Apologies. So, I think as everyone knows, Hockeyland's back requesting some additional variances. That's the first one on the agenda. Otherwise, all other outstanding items have been completed on this. If there's any additional information that you're looking for, I guess I can try to answer it, or Alyssa can. Is there anything specifically you'd like on this item?
Everything is filed, everything's on record?
I'm assuming that you mean in terms of the agreements being recorded with the Register of Deeds? Yes.
Has the property been, what?
Sorry, that was me. My bad. Yes, everything has been recorded with the Register of Deeds for the agreements that were required as part of the planning process,
What
yes.
the combination of, or splitting out of the property
The
is?
split happened a long time ago, yes.
So everything they need to have done is done.
Yes, from a legal and planning perspective, absolutely. And it's my understanding that all of the other departments are satisfied as well. Mr. Farina.
Okay. Alrighty, thank you. Anything else there, Lauren?
I believe Planning Commission should be expecting, hopefully soon, a site plan for that conditional rezoning that the zoning board saw, or not the zoning board, sorry, I think it was Planning Commission for a rezone, the one on Hayes Road for, I believe it was, I think it was 6 or 7 units, site condo. Other than that, Planning Commission at their September meeting approved the site plan in conjunction with the special land use for the complete auto care, and Planning Commission is working through the zoning ordinance currently. So I believe that's the only updates I have for the monthly report.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Do we have anything on the car wash? Where we're at on that?
Yeah, I believe that they were working through their split, but they're still making progress. That might have been completed recently. They're just working through their administrative things before their site development, though, on making sure that the easements are good and splitting the lot.
Mr. Car Wash, is that what you're
Yes.
referring to? I know that they were in discussions directly with Mr. Denault in terms of where that might be at in the process. I'm not entirely sure, but I do know that they've been in contact with us.
So they're working through the split, the legal issue.
I believe so, yes.
Joe?
Lauren, you indicated just a moment ago about condos?
Yes.
Condos on Hayes? Did you mean Hayes and what now?
It's Hayes, just north of 14. There's a lot it was split from, so the house is kind of a small lot, and then it's mainly just detached garage and farmland or vacant farmland.
Okay, all right, on Hayes.
Yep, on Hayes. So.
That just surfaced, right?
What was that?
That just surfaced last month? Site-
No, that was a while ago, but they went to council, they got their rezoning from council, they need to come back before planning commission with the site plan, and the applicant recently stopped in the building department to ask some questions about site plan, so I expect that he'll be in, which is good, because there was other developments that haven't quite gotten, they're at the site plan phase, but they haven't and don't seem to be intending to submit site plans, so.
How many units is going to be?
I believe it was six, seven, do you,
I think it was
7?
3, and 1 in the back.
Yeah, yeah. So, and they're going to be single family, but they're going to be site condominiumized.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else? Anybody? Good one. Public hearing. New business of the board. There is no old business. So new business of the board, public hearing, ZBA 25-03, Utica Road, Wood Lane Road, 34400 Utica, Fraser Hockey Land Properties LLC. Lauren, could you lead us through that, please?
Sure, thank you. So this is a variance request. There are 5 variances within this. So essentially what happened is in 2019, the zoning board granted approval for Hockey Land to use the grass lot that was at that time belonged to the Lions, but now they do own it. So they did get a variance in 2019 to park on unpaved surface. And then when we were administrative looking through what that actually means, there were a bunch of other standards that came up that relate to parking lot construction that we believe to properly do this, they would also need a variance from that. So functionally how we see this is kind of correctly getting the record right from the 2019 on what we believe the intent of the zoning board was, which is to allow them to park on that surface, on that lot, unpaved. And so just to clarify a couple of items, this is not something they would be using day to day. It would be only something that would be used in extreme events. They would also still need to submit their extreme event plan to the city, and the city manager would have to approve that. So they would still have to show how they're going to set up the site, how they're going to enforce it, how they're going to have people come in and out, and it'd have to be to the satisfaction of the city. Otherwise, they would not be able to have that extreme event. This has been ongoing since 2019, so a refresher, the extreme events are triggered only when they have an event that they anticipate more than 1,575 attendees. So those items that they were seeking variances for are from section 3294, and I can flip back, to E, and it's to allow striping only when the parking lot's in use, where the striping of parking lots is required, to allow for parking lot lighting and compliance with 3286, only when the parking lot's being in use, not permanently, to remove the requirement for a paved ingress and egress where paving is required, to remove the requirement for curbs to be installed, and to allow, it says a 4-foot wood fence where protective wall or green belt is required. I will note that it was pointed out to us, the fence ordinance, so that was missed, but commercial and industrial fences do have to be between 6 and 8 feet tall. So the applicant indicated this, but I will defer if that's still the case, that they would provide a 6-foot wood fence, and it would be it wouldn't be a split rail, it would be a privacy, so it's shielding from the headlights. The variance request, to clarify though, is to essentially waive the protective wall or green belt requirement, and they're offering to provide a fence in lieu of that. So when we reviewed it through those standards, a lot of them we kind of combined, and we do think it's unique that they do have a specific plan in place that they must follow. It's not something they can just start parking. If they do start using that lot without an approved parking plan, there would be enforcement action. And again, we feel this is allowing them to use the lot as the zoning board granted them permission to do in 2019. So we do recommend the approval of those variances, all 5 of those. Happy to answer any questions the board might have.
If this was noticed at 4 foot, this allowance for the fence, does it require a permit? It just has to adhere to the CG ordinance for a fence in terms of commercial in the height?
So if they are like I said, okay with offering that 6 foot, which they indicated they are, 6 foot fence, then it wouldn't need a variance for the height. So it would be meeting the height. So they would be able to do that. That is a lesser variance than the 4 foot. So noticing wise, that you would be able to act on that tonight.
Okay, and what about the material wood? Is that an acceptable use in a commercial general for screening?
Yes.
Okay, and it's just solid wood?
I would defer to the applicant on what they intend to do on the fence.
Okay. Dick?
Why is a fence necessary for temporary parking?
So the fence is also partially to address the concerns that people are driving to exit Hockey Land faster over that lot to get onto Wood Lane and then leave, so that it would also stop traffic from going over onto that.
Would also stop headlights from beaming directly into people's homes.
I mean, there's parking lots all around those condos that have a ton of headlights all the time.
Okay. Anything else? Anybody? Mr. Burley?
Yeah, is this fence permanent?
Yes.
So it's a permanent fence?
And they are able to put up a compliant fence, independently of this request. So the request isn't to put up the fence to clarify, it's that it's to waive the green belt and wall.
Right, in lieu?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm looking at the package and I'm looking at the drawing in here. It says they want 160 parking spaces. We've counted them up. I've counted them up, you've counted them up. This drawing is wrong. They've only got 120 spaces here. They show the fence going up right next to the drainage ditch. Is this drawing in error?
Yeah, I believe that the drawing was not done to scale. I don't think anyone's intending to park in the ditch on the other side of the fence. I will note that they don't need a certain amount of space. It's just supposed to serve as overflow. So the extreme events, if they happen, when they happen, it's going to vary in the needs of it. So they just want the option to be able to use that as overflow. And again, the city would have to approve their plan before that event was allowed to happen.
Ms. Menendez?
The only comment I had is, based on what they submitted back in October 2019, they had over at the Lions Club 60 paved parking spaces, and it was 110 that would have been able to fit into that grass area. So actually, less was required for the grass, because it was only 110 according to what they submitted. Because they wouldn't need striping or anything on the Lions Club 60s spaces, correct?
Sorry, I'm not sure I'm following exactly.
Okay, on here, there was, what did you say, Mr. Farina? How many?
120.
160?
They say there's 160, the drawing delineates 120.
Right, so the comment I'm making is for 160, and the grassed area doesn't add up with what, it would only be 110 in the grassed area, and 60 were already paved, according to the document from October of 2019. It's just my point.
That was when they were going to use the Lions Club, the paved parking, is that, because I think that.
Yes.
Okay, I don't believe that that's a factor anymore, and the variance from 2019 also granted them a reduction in parking to 525,
Correct.
and so they do have 534 spaces that are permanently, so they are meeting that minimum permanent parking, so it's not necessarily to have 120 unpaved parking spaces, it's just to use it as unpaved parking.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions? Bud, step up. Could you identify yourself and your relationship, please?
Yes, my name is Bud Kowalski. I'm the general manager of Big Boy Hockey Land. 34400 Utica Road. First, I'd like to thank everybody for coming tonight. I appreciate your time, and I realize that that's, especially with only agenda items, so I do definitely appreciate it. I want to thank Lauren for all her help with all of this. Going through this, obviously, I'm not anything to do with parking. I try to run an ice arena. I don't know much about this. We do go back, as Lauren spoke about, way back to 2019, and I believe we did get approved then for this as an overflow situation if we needed it. Since then, we're back in front of you telling us that we have to go ahead and make sure that it is as close as we can to the parking situation, which you guys want striping and lights and so on and so forth. And I have indicated to both Mr. Denault and to Lauren that we're willing to do all the stuff that's listed there. We'll have a monitor, we'll have the striping, we'll have temporary lights, we'll have whatever you need. It did come up to my attention that we needed to make that fence 6 foot instead of 4, which we thought we already had approved. And we'd be happy to make that 6. And then I was told that something called a headlight fence, which I didn't know anything about, but we got to make sure headlights don't shine through that. And that makes perfect sense, Mr. Farina, so we'll definitely take care of that as well. But we want to make sure that we have this the way you guys want it. I can tell you that I've been in that building now 8 years in this capacity. My oldest son just turned 44, which makes me really old, but he's been in that building for 40 years. Since I've been there in the 8 years, we've never had a situation where we've needed to have this overflow parking. It's all based on, as you see, by way back when they decided they wanted to build that big boy. And you guys have been more than generous and cooperative and patient, to be honest with you. So I appreciate all that, and we will definitely take care of these items to make sure we do it. And quite honestly, you guys do know that if at any point the city manager decides she wants to say no to any kind of request that I have for an extreme event, she can, or he can, whoever happens to be that case. So this is only if we get to the point where we have to use it. We haven't since I've been in this position there. Obviously, my job is to sell the building, so I'd like to get to a point where we would use it. But at this point, we don't need it. And I don't foresee anything future, but to everybody's point here, we have to make sure we got it the way you guys want it.
Okay, one of the requirements is, how are you going to use this in the snow? How are you going to get rid of the snow off there?
Well, we do have a front loader available to us, Commissioner Farina, and we can move the snow if we need to. But again, quite honestly, we're conscious of our situation. I get to make the decision what events comes and not. If the Lions Club decided they wanted to have their fair or their something zoo or whatever they have there, and they asked me if they could use that, and we don't have the capabilities, I'll just tell them no. It's not like we're already scheduled out. It's not like we have to do anything in that building. Everything comes to my desk, and we get to make the decision what we do or don't. So I would anticipate, to answer your question, that we won't use it in the snow. I'm not planning on snow plowing it. I'm not planning on paving it. I'm not planning on doing anything with that. So we won't use it in the snow, sir.
Member Burley.
So how many extreme events have you had since in the last 2 years?
0.
So you had 0?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Because I was outside when there was one.
I'm sorry?
I was outside when there were people parked in that lot, and everything was parked in, and I actually talked with the public safety, who was supposed to go in and notify you that you were in violation.
Okay, well, no public safety came in and notified me, and I don't know when that was, Commissioner Farina. I can't tell you that nobody is parked on that lot. That wasn't the question. The question this gentleman asked me, Mr. Burley, was whether or not we've had an extreme event. Something that I knew that was going to exceed 1,525 people, something I knew ahead of time to submit to the city. And the problem with that lot, to be quite honest with you, is people don't realize there's tons of parking in the back. When you pull in for big events, we have signs that say additional parking in the back, go around the back, go around the back. That's paved, it's lighted. We took care of that back in 2019 per the request of the city. So, and you were involved in that, Mr. Farina. You know how bad that lot used to be. And you can attest to it's not that way anymore. And you can also attest that we have plenty of parking spots behind the back. And when I know that there's going to be a big crowd, we make sure that everybody stays away from there, from employees or anybody else, so we have room for our customers.
Member Menendez.
The date that he's referencing was actually August 29th, and not only were they parked on the lawn, they were going through the ditch to get onto the lawn, but they were also parked on the side, and then the rear also, and the police were there because they were clearing the fire lane because people were even parked in the fire lane.
August
Oh, it was-
29th of 2025?
No, hold on, let me look. 24.
I don't have recollection.
April? Wait, April, I'm sorry, April.
April 2024. We did submit a request to have in fact, we hired the Fraser Police Department for a Red Wing alumni game. That may have been in
At the
April.
event?
I'm guessing. We played, the Red Wings played the Montreal Canadiens or the Toronto Maple Leafs. We had an original 6 alumni game, and the city was notified of that. I submitted it to, I believe, I think the chief police's name, him, and also to the city to make sure that they were aware that we were having it. So I don't know exactly that specific incident you're speaking of, sir, but I can assure you that if there's a situation, I mean, you guys, Mr. Farina, you know this, and we've talked to Fraser Schools. I'm prepared to do a shuttle service with the high school. I've talked to Mrs. Wozniak over there. We have other avenues to make sure that we don't have this occur where there's a problem. I didn't know anything about this, and I apologize, but I can assure you, we paid for public safety that day, if that's the day you're speaking of. And
were on site.
at no point did anybody come and tell me there was any kind of concern or problem.
Member Menendez.
Back when this was before us in October 2019, we approved it, there were parking agreements. As I understand it, since then, those aren't required, and you can correct me where I'm wrong, they're not required to be recorded. They just have to have them in place at the time of an extreme event. Is that correct?
We have numerous shared parking agreements that are recorded. So we have one with this lot in particular.
Through Lions Club?
So Fraser Hockey Land LLC owns the property now. Back in 2019,
All of
Lions
it,
Club.
or which
The
parcel?
LLC owns the yellow that we're talking
Okay.
about this evening. Back when you saw it in 2019 for the reduction in parking and the request to have this be unpaved lot, Lions Club owned the property.
Okay,
So since, obviously, a lot has happened in 6 years.
right.
The requirements in terms of shared parking and cross-access easement involve the shared parking in the yellow box up there for the site that we're talking about this evening. Now the LLC owns it, right? There's also shared parking in between the Big Boy itself and the Hockey Land parcel. So there's various shared parking agreements that have been recorded with the Register of Deeds. I believe what maybe you're referencing is there was a prior condition on the site plan and the special approval land use that required that shared parking agreements be in place with 4 specific entities. That was Myers, Total Soccer, Lions Club, and Fraser Public Schools.
Correct.
That was removed by the Planning Commission for both the site plan approval and the special approval land use approval.
When that was done in 2023, I believe?
It would have been October of 2023, I believe, and
Okay.
March of 2024 for the special approval land use, I believe, if memory serves.
Okay.
So that's,
Oh, wait, hold right there. So you removed the requirement for those, for Myers, and it wasn't part of the condition for the variance, correct?
correct. It had nothing to, all the 2019 approval for the variances that were requested then simply said that the shared parking needed to be in place for extreme events. So
Correct.
that's still in place, right? So as Mr. Kowalski has indicated to the board this evening, the extreme event process still requires them to show how they're going to deal with extra parking, overflow parking, circulation, public safety. There's a lot of different things that he has to show the city manager to approve that specific event. From a zoning perspective, the requirement to have shared parking with specific entities, that was removed. That doesn't mean that the city manager can't sit there and say, I think you need to have some overflow with Meyer or Total Soccer or this person or that person for you to have this extreme event. So
So let me clarify the other thing. And I was under the understanding too, and somewhere in one of my emails, it said that Myers withdrew the accessibility for Hockey Land to park, to use their parking for overflow as well as Total Soccer. So if you remove those, where would, in the event, I mean, in the event that there was an extreme event, where would the overflow go if these two are no longer doing it?
So, Ms. Menendez, I think that's up to city administration reviewing the extreme event. So I think it's separate from the zoning approvals, right? So there's nothing in the variance or the site plan or the special approval land use saying that they have to have overflow parking in a specific place. There used to be those requirements with 4 specific entities. Those have since been removed to essentially allow more flexibility for Mr. Kowalski to provide an extreme event plan to the city administration to say, you know what, maybe something outside of those 4 entities works. So Planning Commission removed those requirements, but that doesn't mean that he does not have to provide a plan for overflow parking or things of that nature. And ultimately, that would be up to city administration in reviewing whether or not an extreme event with the plan proposed could work.
And that I understand, but if I approved it based on the thought that those would be in place, and it is no longer in place, and it was removed, and it wasn't removed by the zoning board, that's the only thing that I question. From my own personal standpoint, if that was part of the reason why I voted for it, because those were in place, and I thought that parking would be available, and it's no longer available, I don't feel real comfortable that it's, well, we'll just throw it up there, and admin will decide, and we'll see where we're going to park them when it happens. That's my only position, because I voted on it based on that, and it is removed. So therein lies, I don't feel comfortable that we don't have something in place. I understand that they'll find some place, but where might that be? Where might that be if you can't do it there?
And I wasn't, I obviously, I don't even think I was licensed to practice law back when they came before you first. So, but I'm not sure, and someone with better historical knowledge than me can tell me if, was there a specific entity requirement for shared parking when it came to the zoning board? There was, Mr. Farina?
Before us were all the applications, which we questioned. They were outdated or whatever. And the final language on that was the applicant must always enforce the parking agreements. Okay, so if my intent at that time was I had all these before me, okay, they have so much here, they have so much here, they have so much here. There was a level of confidence there. Now, it's removed, they're still stipulating to that they will provide parking, offset parking if they need it. But my question is, where would you put them? If you can't use them, if you can't use Total Soccer and you can't use Myers, and you only have right there, where would you put them in an extreme event? That is I think that's a legitimate question.
Yeah, and I think that might be better suited to the applicant on where he would intend to. And I think the reason why we removed it, the requirement for entities, is because the varied nature of the extreme events. But I understand the concern, so we might turn that to the applicant.
And so that is my question to you, sir. Like, if we remove Meyer from accessibility for you to park there, and we removed it from Total Soccer, and you only have that parcel right there in your existing 525, and it's an extreme event, which is going to put you over the 525, plus if you add that in, where would you put the people? Where would you put the vehicles? I'm sorry, where would you put the vehicles? If you couldn't use Myers, and if you couldn't use Total Soccer, and you exceeded, for example, that area, where would they go?
Well, I would tell you that we still have the availability to the Lions Club. We obviously have a great rapport with them. We bought that property from them, and they allow us to park on that lot. I just take care of that individually. We do have the Fraser High School, okay, which obviously can hold as many cars as we possibly could ever need. I have agreements in place with shuttle service people to make sure if people drop their car off there, they could be shuttled back to the arena. So if indeed that did happen, which, again, we're talking about worst-case scenario.
Correct.
But I understand. I understand, just like we talk about, you have to build plumbing in case everybody flushes at the halftime of the Super Bowl. You have to have the extreme event. So the reality is, if that happened, we do have a spot for them. We do. If Myers removed theirs, because when we first got that agreed, that goes so far back, there was no outlets at Myers. All right?
Right.
The original plan was for us to have that Jersey Mike's and Starbucks in our parking lot. Can you imagine that, Commissioner Farina? That would have been crazy. So that once they started doing outlets there, then obviously they said no. And quite honestly, they just wanted us to pay for the right to sign a document that said we needed to, and we couldn't deal with the store here. They made us go to Grand Rapids, and that's how that ended up that way.
And I know back in 2019, because the way things were, you didn't have a minor league team in there, I believe, at that time, and your numbers seemed to be higher, and God, I wish I would have written it down, as to how many you guys anticipated you would have moving forward. But I thought it was more than what you just stated tonight, extreme events.
Well, we've been fortunate, and it's come and gone. We've had 2 or 3 of the alumni, Red Wing alumni versus the other original 6 alumni. So those were big events for the city, and it was exciting for us to host those. One of them ended up on Channel 4 and all this other stuff. But yeah, we don't, I mean, if somebody walked through the door tomorrow and said they want to do something similar to that, our pro hockey team has come and gone. Way back in the day, we had the Motor City Mechanics, which I think started a lot of this stuff back when the NHL went on strike. And what happened was Chelios and a lot of the names were playing at this building. And so what happened, people came here, they were actually literally scalping tickets on the Fraser properties, if you can believe that, to get in and watch these NHL players, and they literally were parking at Myers. And it was a safety concern, of course, people walking back and forth in the dark. I'm very conscious of the fact, and Mr. Logan, who's been great with all of this as well, told me that the reason I needed the fence was because of what you spoke about tonight, was that somebody drove through the stupid, instead of waiting to come out, decided they wanted to go that way, and it was a 4-wheel drive, and they went through the ditch, and whether they bottomed down or not. So when he told me I had to put the fence up, I didn't understand it, but when he explained why, I said, okay, we'll put a fence up. And now, based on the requirements of parking, you guys want that to be a 6-foot fence instead of 4, and we want it to be some sort of, I don't know what you call it, residential type, what's the word?
Privacy.
Privacy fence, thank you, I'm sorry. So we'll put that up. We'll make sure that we can stop that, and we don't want that either. So it really, we're talking, and I understand we have to talk about the worst, we have to talk about extreme events, but I think I do, to answer your question, I am very confident that I have places to go with that extra parking that you referred to.
Because I was kind of concerned also when I saw young teenagers and families crossing Utica.
Well, I agree. Well, I don't ever want to cross
Running through, how many lanes of traffic would you have? 3, then you get in the middle lane, you pause.
You
for a
can't,
bit,
yeah, we don't,
and then
nobody
they
wants
run
that.
across.
Nobody,
Witnessed that, and that
pushing
was-
strollers across Utica.
Right, that was really
Ludicrous.
frightening.
Ludicrous, and that's why I'm glad I wasn't here when that happened. Hasn't been here since I've been here, for sure.
Have you ever decided that in the future of developing that?
It was purchased with the idea of doing something with it, but quite honestly, the city scared the owner to death about what parking problems that we've had. So I don't know, I mean, I can tell you right now, it's used for recreation. Kids go out there all the time and play soccer, and there are gentlemen that will go out there and hit their golf balls in the morning. We see them, we have to move the golf balls to cut the grass. And there are people there. Before we bought it, the Lions Club had a lease with a couple different soccer facilities, and they use that as well. And we still let everybody who wants to use that, use that. So I can tell you right now, there's no plan to develop that. But also, God rest his soul, but the owner, Dr. Offer, passed away last Easter. So he was the one that purchased that. He was the one that had an idea what to do with that. And quite honestly, Big Boy's a little bit in a flux about, I'm sorry if I'm not talking loud, but what they're going to do with that. But I can tell you right now, there's been no plans, no talk at all about that. I have looked into some other possibilities to try to figure something out to make that a grass thing. I've been researching it. I spoke to a couple different people that maybe we can figure something else out to allow that not not to, you know, sink, and nobody wants people to sink in there, and nobody wants people to get their shoes dirty and get mud. I mean, it's a no-win situation if we have to use it. People that will do that, just like you go to the Michigan football game, you park on the golf course because you want to go to the Michigan football game, and that's what happens. You go to your church fairs, and you park wherever you can on whatever grass there is. I go to St. Lawrence's Fair. I go to a bunch of fairs, St. Hubert's, and they park wherever you can park once the parking lot's done. So we're talking about a one situation, a one weekend possibly for them, maybe a one night for me, and that's what we're referring to.
I have a question. For me, this is totally inadequate to make a judgment on. It's not the scale. If you add up how many spaces you think you have, it doesn't add up to what you show. You need lighting, doesn't show where you're going to put lights on here.
I don't think I would make that decision, Commissioner Farina. I think the people that I'd rent the lighting from would tell me where I need to go based on the number of cars they expect me to have. I'm not smart enough to make that decision, sir.
Well, you have to allow for it in your drawing, or you're going to take up more of your parking spaces.
Okay, well, again, you're trying to make sure that I have 130, 150, 170. We're not here talking about my parking requirements. We've done that road. We've been on that. We're talking about whether or not I can take this piece of property and get a variance to go ahead and use it in a parking situation for extreme events. And your parking provisions say, I must do this, I must do this, I must do this. And I told you in those situations, we will not use it. So that's what we're talking about. I don't think this council's not prepared, nor am I prepared to talk about 152 versus 173 versus 124. That's not what the intent of this meeting is. This meeting is for you to tell me whether I can get a variance to use that as a
The intent
parking.
of this meeting is for you to supply us with enough factual information to make a good determination.
Okay?
All right?
So,
It's not here for me to help solve your problems,
sir, I'm not asking you to.
all right? But I think you are if you give me hand drawings like this. Lauren, you want to speak?
Yeah, I apologize. I thought I had to push it again to unlight it up. That's my bad. We asked Mr. Kowalski to provide a layout just to get a visual of how they intend to generally use the lot, and I understand it's not accurate, it's not to scale. Submitting, a site plan, accurate site plan, it's always helpful. It's not a requirement for a variance application, so I just wanted to note that, but I do understand how it's frustrating to have an inaccurate plan before you.
If we were to supply him a variance tonight, okay? Doesn't he have to update his site plan?
No.
Why?
My understanding is that this is not, it's already in the site plan, because, so how this relates to the site plan is the condition about an extreme event. So it's already part of it, if you're following, because of the variance that was granted in 2019 to use the lot unpaved.
Okay. The fact that it's a wooden fence doesn't bother you instead of a wall?
No,
Okay, how will it be maintained? Would he put up $5,000, $10,000 with the city to ensure its maintenance?
I would have to ask him that question. That's to you, sir.
Is that the question, sir?
That was my question about your fence, yeah.
Okay. Well, is my fence because you want me to put it up, and we have not decided whether it's going to be wood or vinyl. I suspect that I would rather put vinyl, to be honest with you. She suggested wood, and she's asked about wood, and you asked her whether wood would be okay. I think wood, from my perspective, doesn't make sense. The last thing I need to do is have people out there painting it and worrying about it and so on and so forth. I'm an old guy, and I used to have houses with wood shingles on them, and they don't make them very much anymore. So we would not do wood. I can guarantee you I'll spend the extra money to make sure that we will have a vinyl as opposed to a wood fence.
We sent this to engineering to look at. I called engineering, and he wanted to know who put this report together. He said this is unacceptable in his mind. the city engineer?
I mean, I think we had different conversations because I also did call him about that, and he sent this in email form, and I just copy and pasted it from there. Maybe it should have been more formalized. We had a discussion about sending formal reviews and not sending emails included, but we wanted to make sure that engineering comments were reflected, so that's the reason it was included in that form.
Okay. All righty. Anybody else? Member Burley.
Yeah, this variance, the sample variance, from section 32-94-2, as you read it, it's to allow striping only when the parking lot is in use, where striping of parking lots is required. But there's more to that variance, the patterns and things like that. Would that be only for the striping, and they wouldn't have to?
It would still have to meet the dimensional requirements of a parking layout in terms of stall space and maneuvering lanes.
So it's that whole part
Yeah,
two?
that part of the parking construction ordinance is one that they will be able to meet. So
Okay.
are not requesting a variance from.
Anybody else have questions? All right. Counselor, do we handle this as a whole, or do we handle this individually?
Well, Mr. Farina, procedurally, I would first recommend that you open the public hearing. And then after that, it's however the board would like to handle it. So the board can take it each individual variance and vote individually. The board can vote to approve all of the requested variances. It's really up to the board.
Thank you. Okay, if there's any other questions for the applicant? Anybody? Thanks, man.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Okay. Opening for public hearing? Anybody want to be heard? Come on. Anybody? No? I'm going to close the public hearing.
Commissioner Farina, did you want to read the letter into record, or?
No, I don't want to.
Okay, I didn't know if that was something that,
We'll ask the clerk to read it into record.
What?
can we just add it to the?
Yeah, you can just make a note that it was.
We can also just make a note and read it out
It
loud.
was entered into the record. An email from
Maryland Lane.
Marilyn Lane.
Yes. Look, there she is.
Well, I think it should be heard.
Sure.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and honorable board members. Thank you for the opportunity to have my letter read. Unfortunately, I'm out of town and unable to attend this evening's meeting. At the same time, I have some concerns regarding the ZBA request before you. I want to start by saying that I'm a big supporter of Fraser Hockeyland Properties LLC, known as Big Boy Hockey Arena, and wish them nothing but great success. With that being said, the items before you, I think, are very problematic. I think they lack the standard safety protocols a city should require, as well as those mandated by city ordinances and BOCA codes. Allowing additional parking without requiring it to be paved without proper drainage, lighting, or ADA compliance really poses a safety hazard even for police, fire, and ambulances services to respond safely. I understand the need for additional parking, and we hope that Hockeyland Properties will need to accommodate extra guests and athletes every year. Ice facilities are among the most extensive in Michigan. What we need to do is ensure that as we attract people from all parts of the state and out of state, the area poses no greater risk to those who utilize it in the absence of proper striping and lighting. There is no other community in Macomb County, even maybe the state of Michigan, that would allow this type of parking. I understand based on the packet that was online that the city has already issued a permit for a wood fence instead of a green belt, which further complicates the drainage issue because the water on that property has, in the past, drained to the ditch behind their fence, with all the water being collected on their property. It will only be a matter of time before that wood fence is not structurally sound. I'm not certain how plowing snow on grass or striping grass in the winter when we have snow and rain would work. It appears to be a logistical nightmare and a challenge to roll lights out to that area with no proper drainage. Allowing this dangerous arrangement without a hard surface puts visitors at risk of breaking an ankle or leg, which could result in a lawsuit naming Fraser Hockeyland, and also places the cities in harm's way as a party to the lawsuit for allowing this request to use the property in this manner. Why does the city want to assume the legal liability and put taxpayers at risk? The idea that a business would have to contact the city for permission to host events again isn't customary in the business world. It would seem to me that without proper parking, they should be able to run their operations as needed without any permission. With proper parking, they should be able to run their operations as needed without any permission from the city or anyone else, which leads us to require them to have enough improved parking spaces and parking areas secured to a safe standard. This is not a new concern regarding the shortages of parking spaces, but again, allowing the Big Boy restaurant to be built and taking away more precious parking spaces, the city created a greater deficit for the needed parking spots. And so now they're trying to make up for parking spaces that are going to be required for the facility to be a success. The city needs to help a business not look the other way, and more importantly, not set such a dangerous precedent in the future. My concern is one of complete safety standard protocols, so I hope you will look at this in a holistic approach. Granting this permission will stay with the property permanently, and the city will lose any abilities to regulate property's use. So while today it's a hockey facility, what might tomorrow be, and what does it grant? I never like to have a problem without a solution. I know that it's costly for the owners to have to make the necessary improvements, but it's necessary for them to be viable, for them to grow the business where it needs to go, and it does require an investment. And I don't know how the city feels they should have any financial or legal responsibility. Why doesn't the city help sponsor a SEMCOG grant for safety design or economic grant to assist the facility in the best sports complex in Michigan? The problem is one of financial resources, but allowing this will shift the financial responsibility onto the city. Would help Fraser Hockeyland properties seek the proper funding through state or federal grants to grow business and recreational sports. Please deny this request and work on a more viable option. Best, Maryland Lane, concerned resident.
Bud, get a copy of this? Bud, did you get a copy of this? Did you? There's extra copies. Okay. Having done that, I'm going to close the public hearing and bring it back up to the board. Looking for how do we want to handle? Do we want to handle these separately, or do we want to handle them all together? Anybody?
Together.
I think all together.
I say let's give it
It's an entire package.
Okay,
All or nothing.
that's it. Okay. Now, do I have a motion?
I've got one question for the applicant. Can we bring him back up real quick? Yes, please. You made one comment that that you would have ample parking with just the high school. So why would you even need this?
This, if we, are you guys commissioners? I don't, to Ms. Mendes' question, she said, if you filled that up, where would you put the extra parking? And I said we could do it at the high school. The high school has more than enough parking, probably if we didn't even need that. But, you know, the idea of it is why make people be inconvenienced if we're going to have this extreme event, since we have that piece of property right there. That's my only comment, or my reason to say that was there's more parking spots than we would ever use. That building can't hold that many people.
So how many people do you think you could use, or you could have at your facility, okay, and just use that overflow 130 cars?
Well, I think if I have an extreme event that's over 1,575 people, I may need to use that. And that's why we'd like to have the access to do that. And
So
you
you're
know,
saying
I'm
if
sorry.
you have 1,500 guests, you don't need that?
If we have up to
100, you don't need that green belt?
1,575, we don't need that. That's what we talked about. Yes, sir.
So how many can you put in there? How many people can you have in that whole
Well,
facility?
I guess we talk about how many people drive per car and how many people and so on and so forth.
Just an approximate, how many
Yeah,
per your building? If you were to, have an extreme event, what's the max amount of people that you would legally put in there because of fire?
I don't know, sir. I really don't. I have no idea how to even figure that out.
What I'm saying is that there's not, if it's only 130 cars, probably only another 250 people. So you probably use high school anyways, right?
No, because quite honestly, if I have an extreme event, I don't sell any other. We have 5 surfaces in that building. At one time, that was the largest in the world,
Right.
okay? More people know the city of Fraser because of the ice arena than most anything else. And when we have an extreme event, I don't sell ice in the other ones. It's more important for me to get these people parked and get them in and get them out. So I'm not concerned about that.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody? Okay, hearing no one. I make a motion to deny ZBA 2503 Utica Road because I don't believe they have met the threshold of requirements for a variance. And doing this would allow us to enlarge an already exacerbated problem from prior years. That's it. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion on that motion?
That does that affect his fence? I mean, he's still
He
allowed
could
to
still
go-
put up a 6-foot fence on his property.
Okay. Any other discussion?
We have a motion to deny. Burley?
Now, since it's in the negative, would I?
Right, this is a
If I
motion to deny. You're voting no to deny.
Correct.
That's, okay. That is the proper way to do that. Chimenti?
No.
If you're voting in favor to deny, it's a yes.
Yes.
So you
Wait a
have to
second.
change.
No. You're voting against the motion, right? Or in favor of the
I'm
motion?
voting against his motion to deny.
Right,
Yes.
I had that right, yes.
Yes.
And Joe, you would have voted yes, okay. Farina?
Yes.
Green?
No.
Menendez?
Yes.
Stasek?
No.
Wall?
No.
Motion fails.
Sorry.
So the variance prevails, correct?
No, it hasn't been approved, it hasn't been denied.
Okay.
So a new motion would need to be made.
Another motion
That
would need to be made.
Failed.
It failed.
Okay. Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the following variances for my glasses. for ZBA 25-03 Utica Road at Woodland Road, Fraser Hackyland Properties. A variance from section 3294 to allow for striping only when the parking lot is in use, where striping and parking lot is required, and a variance of section 3294 to allow a parking lot in compliance with section 32-86 for only when the parking lot is in use where parking lot lighting is required, and a variance from section 3294 to remove the requirement for a paved ingress and egress where paving is required, and a variance from section 3294 to remove the requirement for curbs to be installed where installation of the curb is required. And I'm going to leave out the 4-foot one because he said he'll do a 6-foot one.
So, Mr. Burley, the variance that's being requested is to provide a fence instead of the required protective wall or green belt. So it doesn't.
So it still has to be, okay.
Correct. So the variance would essentially be waiving the requirement by providing something instead.
So I still have to, but I can put it says 6-foot instead of,
Yes.
okay. And then a variance for section 3294 to allow a 6-foot wood fence or vinyl fence instead of the required protective wall of green belt, provided the fence provides screening from headlights.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Motion is second.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Burley, I would make some recommendations from a legal standpoint for conditions. Whether you'd like to add them or not, that's totally up to you. Just to be kind of uniform with what we have done in the past on variance approvals for the site to try to make sense of all of this. So my recommendation would be to add 3 conditions, one being that the variances are recorded against the property, 2, that a hold harmless agreement be provided to the city, approved by the city attorney's office, and thereafter recorded, and 3, just, I guess, a qualification that the variances remains valid and enforced so long as the information presented are found to be correct and that the conditions upon which the motion are based are forever maintained. So just in case something happens, plans change, things of that nature, the action that you're making this evening is based on the information that was provided to you.
Yes, please add it.
I have one other question for you, Counselor. If Fraser Hockeyland for some reason goes out of business, what happens to this?
So, obviously, the variance, there's multiple moving pieces and parts to all of this. So there's the variance to allow parking on an unpaved lot. It's essentially tied to the extreme event. The extreme event is particular to the site plan and special approval land use that was granted for Hockeyland. So it's a little different than other instances where, it's a a setback variance that, obviously that's going to go into perpetuity. A variance technically does go into perpetuity, but there's also a lot of other factors playing into this holistically with the site that I think would essentially be looked at if and when that was ever to be the case, if the hockey land ceases to exist at all.
That'll be on the record.
I know you'll hold me to it, Mr. Farina.
Does Mr. Green have to amend his second or agree to?
To add the conditions? Yep.
All right, I'll second the conditions that were added.
You allowed the conditions to be added.
I allowed the conditions to be added, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
You ready? Mr. Burley?
Yes.
Clemente? Yes. Farina?
No.
Green?
Yes.
Menendez? No. Stashik?
Yes.
Wall?
Yes.
It's approved.
Okay. Good luck to you. Question, just a suggestion, there are different places to look for parking. There's a big Lutheran church down on the corner of 14 Mile Road. And there's a Fraser Hockeyland. Tell them to slap a gate up there and charge $10. All right.
Thank
Good
you.
luck.
Next item is unfinished business of the board. There's none. Planning Commission Liaison. That's me. We had a lengthy discussion yesterday about the new zoning ordinance and looking at that. And we have decided that portions of this we're going to go through in detail, and other portions we're going to trust, like definitions. I don't think that we want to go through definitions. But we picked out several sections last night that we would go through in detail. And that was Article 5, Article 4, Article 5, Article 6. How can I go back 7 and then go back to 4?
Numbering is wrong, and I apologize. We will get the updated Roman numerals on the ordinance.
So let me give it, Article 4, Article 5, Article 6, and then, do I call that 8 or do I call, no. Article 4 again, that begins on page 57. That's the way, and then Article 5 that begins on page 81. Section 32-98, general requirements for lighting. There's one that you said,
I didn't think we were going to go through that section.
I thought Mr. Kyle had a problem with that and wanted that reviewed. He said that what was in here was not the lighting,
Yeah, concerns with the sign ordinance.
I'm sorry. Okay. And then Article 7 that starts on page 95. Parking, loading, and access management.
I believe that one was going to be independent review. I believe Chair Warnock mentioned the site circulation, signs, landscaping were all going to be independent. He was more concerned about the general provisions, the residential provisions, commercial, industrial, and use
So
standards.
what did we say? Article 8 on page 109 is part of the detail then?
I don't have my ordinance up in front of me. What's the section, the article, the chapter name?
Landscaping and screening.
I don't believe that was a detail one.
That's, I didn't mention it.
I thought you were, apologies.
And signs was not there. And that's it. The rest of it we're going to trust. There was a problem with the new zoning map as drawn that we're going to look at. There's some houses along Utica Road that were put into light industrial, and it was brought up that if the chairman's house burned down, he couldn't rebuild his house. So we're going to look at that. But if you guys would look, read up and see, give your input to me. I'll take it to them if you want to show up at the meeting, like Kathy does. You know, you can come to the meeting too. It's an open meeting. All right. And I think that did it for last night. Kathy, did I miss anything?
Chair Farina, I could not hear you.
Did I miss anything?
No, but I didn't hear everything you said prior to that, so I apologize. I believe you went through the sections of the ordinance, and I think you did that wrong.
I'm trying to speak up.
I know you are.
All right. Anything else? We'll go around. Scott, do you have
Nothing.
anything?
Nope.
Nothing for me.
Green?
Nada.
We have nothing coming down the pike that you're aware of.
Not that I'm aware of. Did we want to clarify that
Oh,
December 18th
yes.
is the next meeting,
December 18th is the next meeting.
not the 4th? If there's a meeting, it'd be the 18th, not the 4th.
We made a change when the calendar came out.
It's the Burley Rule.
early.
Yep. The Mexico rule.
That's even better.
But as of right now, there's nothing on the calendar for that. Joe?
Thank you for all your prayers. I'm glad to be back.
Glad you're doing better, Joe.
Why don't you get out of town and go to Poland or something?
I'm going to. I won't be at the next, well, I will be here. Since it's the 18th, I'll be back in town. So, but since I do have the microphone, thank you, Joe. Thank you, Scott. And thank you again, Frank, for working the elections for me. It was very successful on Tuesday. Got to see you 3 days in a row. How crazy is that? So,
Your turn to buy.
yeah. And Patrick, thanks for nothing, man. Bailed on this one.
Anything?
Nothing from me, Chair.
Nothing for me.
God, an attorney that doesn't have anything to say. Okay,
Few of us out there, Mr.
all right. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.